Come closer, son. Sit down. Let me tell you something you won't find in those history books they give you at school. Those books talk about maps, grand offensives, and generals with shiny medals. But war isn't a map. War is the smell of burnt gunpowder mixing with frozen air that cuts your lungs like a razor. War is the crushing weight of a Maxim machine gun on your shoulders and the deafening silence of a Finnish forest that feels like it's watching your every move, waiting for you to slip up. I was there, in the continuation war. By the time I got to the front, things had settled down, if you can call it that. It was a stalemate, trench warfare. We were dug into the frozen earth for months. The Soviets were right there, just a few hundred yards away, across a strip of no man's land filled with jagged barbed wire and pine trees splintered into toothpicks by artillery. It was us against the Red Army, yes. But mostly, it was us against General Winter. Do you see these hands? They once held the steel barrel of a machine gun with a grip of iron. I was a gunner. It was my responsibility to hold the line, no matter what. We had the Suomi KP-31, maybe the finest submachine gun ever made. When that thing opened up, it sounded like a giant saw cutting through the air. But most of the time, my true companion was the Maxim M 32-33. It was heavy, stubborn, and it needed water to stay cool. That was a joke in the winter because water turned into solid rock in seconds. We had to use alcohol mixtures just to keep the mechanism from seizing up. If that gun stopped, everyone died. It was that simple. But listen to me. It wasn't the fear of a Soviet bullet that kept us awake at night. It was the cold. A cold you cannot imagine. A cold that dropped to 40 degrees below zero. The Finnish army was brave. We were the masters of the woods, but we were undersupplied. They gave us wool uniforms, sure, but our boots were a disgrace. They were thin leather, hard as granite when they got wet and froze. I felt my feet turning into blocks of ice. The pain of the cold is worse than the pain of a wound. It's a pain that bites your bones and whispers to you to just give up, to just lie down in the white snow and go to sleep. We knew the Soviets had something we needed desperately. The Valenki. Those were thick felt boots, warm as a hearth, built for surviving in the heart of Siberia. If you had a pair of those, you had a chance to keep your toes. So, we made a choice. A choice that still makes me shiver today. And it's not because of the weather. We would wait until the moon hid behind the clouds. We'd slip out of the trench, crawling like ghosts across the white crust of the snow. My weapon was ready, but my eyes were searching for something specific. We'd cross no man's land, navigating the craters left by 122mm Soviet shells. And there, among the charred pines, we would find them. The corpses of the Soviet soldiers, men who had fallen in the last skirmish, and whom the frost had turned into marble statues. I had to do it. I'd kneel there in the dark before a dead enemy, a man who probably had a mother or a wife waiting for him in Leningrad. And I'd take his boots. They were frozen to his legs. You had to struggle, sometimes use a knife. It's something a man doesn't want to do, son. It's a desecration. It's a theft from the dead. But in that moment, I didn't see an enemy. I saw my own survival. I'd put those boots on, still carrying the shape of another man's body, and I'd feel the warmth creep back into my feet. It's a bitter irony of war. You wear the clothes of the man who tried to kill you just so you can live one more day. The Soviets weren't fools. They knew we were out there. Their artillery was massive. They had the Katyusha rocket launchers, the Stalin organs. When those rockets let fly, the sky turned blood red, and the screaming sound tore at your eardrums. One day, the sky decided my turn had finally come. A Soviet artillery shell detonated right near my position. I didn't hear a thing. I just felt an immense pressure. I woke up in a field hospital months later. They told me I was lucky. Other boys from my unit ended up under the snow, without boots and without names. I spent a long time recovering, staring out the window at the frost on the glass, thinking about those men in no man's land. I survived the war. I came home. But I could never truly shake that cold. Not the cold of the snow, but the cold of knowing what a man is capable of when nature is more cruel than the enemy.